Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome back to My Consciousness. You were in my consciousness last Thursday. I wasn't here, but I was thinking of you. It's good to be back here now. Apologies this evening from Clint. He's hurt his back and Meg's not feeling well, so that they're at home recuperating, as others are as well, from the happenings of the day, the happenings of the week. And Brendan's, we can see he's joining us there from his place in Kyogle, looking after the IT things. Also, thanks to Justin for looking after the group last week. So let's settle into our evening with our meditation. So having established a comfortable sitting position, aligning our body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, helping to enable an inner mindful presence. Our eyes gently closed, helping to bring awareness within, whilst also having a deep, relaxing, outgoing breath, breathing out any stress, tension that might have been building in our body over the happening of the day, the happening of the week so far. Breathing out, relaxing, releasing, letting go. Using this time to set the mind right, enabling some inner stillness, silence, spaciousness, some calm and clarity, some peace and presence. And before bringing awareness to our breath, our reference point for the present, just relaxing awareness down into our body, feeling into this body, this foundation of mindfulness, the mind in the body in the mind. Perception of a few contact sensations, feet connecting with the floor, body connecting with the chair, cushion or stool, the hands resting in the lap, the gentle rising and falling of shoulders, chest, abdomen, belly, the body breathing itself. Maybe feeling some degree of air connecting with our face. Perception of light coming in through the closed eyelids. And even looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through the closed eyelids. A few background sounds, but not being distracted or disturbed by those. And particularly not being distracted or disturbed by the inner sound or sight of thoughts if they occur. But rather choosing to bring our mindful awareness, conscious attention to the sensation of our breath at the nose nostril area, mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, helping to collect mind energy and connect mind energy in the present to each individual life-giving breath. It's moment-to-moment conscious attending bringing mind and body together in the present, transcending thought and self-concern, allowing the fundamental mind nature of peace to become apparent. Just feeling and knowing each breath. Always returning awareness back to the breath if it has become distracted, making each breath significant, special. Please help yourself to some tea, biscuits if you wish.
Would you like a cup of tea?
I've got one, thanks. So a question. Why are we here? Why are we here? And here as in this property, which we called Ratnagiri. Ratnagiri, which means a jewel on the hill, a Buddhist Pali name. The jewel on the hill. Even like why we here in this room, this Samadhi Sala, meditation hall, one mind hall. Even why we're here at this group, this Buddhist meditation group. Many reasons why we might be here, but one significant reason for all of us and for anybody and everybody who has been here is summarized in a particular word, a powerful word, an interesting word, a word that describes a cluster of feelings that we ourselves have probably experienced. The word in Pali, the Buddhist language, is saṁvega. Saṁvega. Anyone heard that word before? Saṁvega. I've certainly mentioned it at times. Saṁvega, there's not one good word in English that really describes or enables what saṁvega encompasses. So the one Pali word describes a shock, a surprise, a sorrow, a sadness, a spiritual urgency, even a spiritual emergency, even a spiritual emergence. So something quite powerful. And again, the reason that we're here and able to have this Buddhist meditation group is because 2,600 years ago, a man at the time, he was called Siddhartha Gautama, had this experience, this feeling of shock, surprise, sorrow, sadness, spiritual urgency that motivated him to move beyond the somewhat palatial life that he was living and to go forth into spiritual life, becoming a samana, which means a spiritual practitioner, one that's given up the home life, the household life, And this had occurred because he had seen 4 things that had stirred him up. 4 things that most of us are aware of, have seen, do see, even on a regular basis. Some of you here will see. But for him, he was really taken by these 4 things. They're called the 4 heavenly sights because they were, in a way, a motivation towards spiritual practice, and ultimately leading him to become fully enlightened, awakened, and spending the next 45 years teaching others how to realize full spiritual awakening as well. So the 4 sights were a really old person, and it was surprising and distressing for him because when Siddhartha was born, his legend has it that his father, who was a provincial lord, was told by an oracle that your son will either become a great leader, like a king, a great lord, or he'll become a great spiritual teacher. And the oracle started crying. And so Siddhartha's father said, "Why are you crying?" And this oracle said, "Well, I'm crying because I won't be alive to receive some teachings from him. I'm going to die before that happens." So that the Siddhartha's father didn't want him to go off to become a great spiritual teacher, but rather to continue to in the family line, being a provincial, or beyond a provincial, maybe a state lord, state sort of monarch. And so again, the legend says that he was kept away from things that might stir him up, cause him to question what's life about? What are we doing here? Where is the real happiness? And so that was kept away from things that would stir him up. And so on 4 particular occasions, when he was a young adult, was able to get out of where he was living, a sort of a lovely place, and where he was not exposed to these things. And so he saw a really old person, was really distressed by that, especially when he was told by his charioteer, yes, well, this is a really old person, and if you're lucky, you get old as well. It's like, my goodness, I don't want to get old like that. Second sight, illness, seeing somebody really sick. And in India, you can see people that are really sick, probably with leprosy and bits and pieces falling off. So really distressing and disturbing, and was told, well, this is part of the process of being alive. People get sick. People can get really sick. The third sight was someone that had died. He'd never seen a corpse before, and was very distressed by that. And was told that, yes, we all die. That's a reality. That's a fact. You can't sort of get beyond death, seemingly. But fortunately, he saw the fourth sight, which was a samana, a mendicant, spiritual practitioner, and was told that that person, their job is they're seeking the way out of suffering. They're looking for enlightenment. So these 4 sights stirred Siddhartha up to the point where, particularly with the fourth sight, that he felt motivated to leave his home life and to seek the way towards enlightenment. That there must be a way for the mind to transcend being caught up in this realm and round of samsara, this continual cycle of birth, aging, illness, death, and rebirth, aging, illness, death, rebirth, aging, illness, death, and round and round. And so that was the great motivation, and certainly enough so that he didn't just try spiritual life for a few days or a few weeks or a few months or a few years. He practiced, according to the stories, the legends, 6 years before he became fully realized. So 6 years of quite challenging practice, because that urgency to find a way beyond aging, illness, and death. So obviously for us, we're all beset as well with this process of aging. None of us is 21 anymore. We have all been sick. We will all get sick, and certainly we will all die. So that the same things are there. And at times we also see spiritual practitioners, Buddhist monks. We have them here in person. And this can then become a motivation, but sometimes it's only when we are really close to someone that's really close to us that we can feel that sense of, my goodness, this is real. This is a reality. This is sort of disturbing. So for myself, last Thursday I wasn't here. I drove down to Newcastle, and then the next morning down to Sydney to be with my mother, who had fallen over. She'd got up in the early hours of the morning to go to the toilet, and had fainted, and just went straight down, hit her head on the wooden bedside table, and so that and probably a couple of times down, probably bounced around a bit, because when I saw her in hospital, she looked like she'd been beaten up. She had this huge big, still has this huge big lump on her forehead, and all this bruising under her eyes, down her face, on her arm, on her leg. Looked like someone had taken to her, with a cricket bat. And sure, we see people beaten up, especially on TV, but you never see your mother beaten up like that. It's like, goodness. And not just beaten up, but she was in a state where she was sort of on the edge of life, on the edge of death. She knows, and even mentally, not quite there. She because of the severe head injury, she has severe bruising on the brain and with clots, so they're not quite sure what degree of recovery she'll have in terms of memory and cognitive ability. She was living at home, independent, fully functioning. She was, before she went into hospital, she was distressed about, oh, I've got to get the tax done. She does her own tax and so forth, and things like that. She'd planned to go to the opera with my sister. But when suddenly something like this happens, it just everything stops. Everything stops. And also to see her in this state, a sense of, yes, she even had last Thursday, she had her 89th birthday in hospital. 89, but she's a woman that always wears makeup. She says, you don't go outside without wearing lipstick. Got to be presentable. But seeing someone in hospital, your mother, in that sort of state, they're old, but they look a lot older than they really are, especially with all the bruising and so forth. So the experience of, wow, this is old age. This is illness. This is a illness, and she has some underlying illnesses, particularly one that probably caused her to faint when she got up and then down. And so that the sense of illness is there, and particularly death, the sense of like, okay, well, this person, my mother, I've known her the longest of anyone on the planet, and the one person on the planet that's known me the longest is her, but she's on the edge of life, and she's in and out of consciousness. And so the sense of again, taking that to heart as a spiritual awakening, like a type of shake up, wake up to the reality that is part of life, but also for all of us as well. And certainly I've been around people dying. I worked in a nursing home for 3 years while I was studying psychology. People were dying there, and certainly, old people, sick people, people dying. When I was a Buddhist monk, I lived for 6 years in a charnel ground in Thailand. The monastery, the forest monastery, was a burning ground where the villagers would burn the bodies of people that had died. So taking part in that process, bringing the person back to the monastery with the villagers, and they were put on a pyre, and then an open pyre that everyone was around watching and seeing that whole process happen. So seeing these things, but it takes an extra element of um, um, awareness to accommodate the fact that when you have a loved one that's in this state, very, very challenging, but also very, very meaningful, and also very, very motivational to that sense. Well, okay, why are we here? Why are we alive? What am I doing with my life? What's important? And again, into spiritual practice, that sense of um, this is all for the purpose of spiritual awakening, realizing our own awakening enlightenment in this very lifetime, which was what the Buddha said on his deathbed. Last words: all things are impermanent. Realize your enlightenment with urgency. And so that in this sense, a sense of making use, transforming the blight that of the situation that my mother's in into a blessing, as a potential for deep Dharma learning, deep Dharma spiritual practice. And especially also because I'm the eldest of three children. So who's in next line? When she dies, she's still alive, but when she dies, who's in line next? That's me. Hopefully not for a long time, but that's the uncertainty of life that we live with. There's a saying in Thai that says, "Rao mai ruwa pruni jaben one mai re jaben chat mai," which translates as, none of us really know whether tomorrow will be the beginning of our new day or the beginning of our new life, as in we died last night, got reborn the next day. So we don't know that. We live with that sense of uncertainty. But again, it becomes a motivation to practice, to practice and make each day, hour, minute, moment meaningful as part of practice. It's like Dharma, truth, the way of things, the Buddha Dharma. That's our refuge. That's our refuge. That's why we're here. That's why the Buddha left home to having seen those four things as a motivation towards spiritual practice. One thing that I found interesting as well, seeing my mother lying there, and at times I did um, engage some of my nursing home skills, helping the nurse, sit her up and change the pad she was sitting on, and helping her, trying to get the bedpan underneath her. We tried to stand her up, but that wasn't going to happen. So getting the bedpan underneath her and helping her eat and so forth, things like that. So she's slowly improving each day. But again, it's still uncertain as to whether she'll even get back home or not. She may have to go into some sort of aged care sort of situation. But when she was lying there, I could see um, the five aggregates, which are mentioned on this chart here. The Buddha gave this as a description of the human being is made up of these five elements. The element of the body, rupa, khandha, body element. Based upon a body, there is then the senses, and the senses are sensitive and create feeling, vedana khandha. There's also sanya khandha, which is perception, the mental aggregate of perception or recognizing something. And then there's sankhara khandha, which is the mental aggregate of thinking beyond, okay, it's a microphone, and recognizing that, and microphones are for this, and it's switched on and so forth, and so the thinking element. And then the last one is vijnana khandha, which is consciousness. And I could see that very much for this body that was lying in front of me, which my mother, there was the body aggregate, which was not well, beaten up, not functioning properly. There was feelings were unpleasant feelings happening, and feelings are either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So unpleasant feelings happening. At times she was crying out in pain. And because they'd given her they said, well, if you need some pain medication, just press the buzzer. She wasn't alert enough to know what the buzzer was, and she was just lying there in pain. And so that sort of feeling aspect of unpleasant feelings and perception. So that perception wasn't fully there either. Um, she was not fully cognizant where she was, what was going on, what things were, and then also thinking. The thinking, there was some thought, but not full conscious cognitive thought as she would otherwise have. So the thinking aggregate wasn't there much. And I could also see the consciousness that collects and connects all these aggregates together. That was sort of quite weak as well. So it's like there wasn't a full functioning flow of these five elements, these five aggregates. And I remember Ajahn Tiradamo, Canadian Buddhist monk who I spent time living with in Switzerland. He's now based in Wat Buddha Dharma down in Sydney, usually comes up here once a year. He was saying that there's a woman that came to live in the monastery in England and to basically die there. And the monks and nuns were sort of attending to her, looking after her, and meditating with her. And at times she was in and out of awareness, consciousness, and but also reporting back to them of how she was doing, how she was feeling. And she was saying that, and this was just before she died, she could sense and feel the five aggregates, those five elements that were there. They were sort of starting to dissipate, starting to separate, starting to dissolve, as opposed to being all a collective in one, joined by the sense of identity and self. This is me, but like, body. It's like an awareness of the body, but it's even starting to separate from it. And feelings. There's a feeling, but I'm not the feeling. I'm happy. Feels good or whatever. Just the mind starting to separate from it, and even the ability to start to recognize things or think about things, that was sort of becoming less as well. And so interesting insight for her, also Rajan Tiradamo, which he shared with me some time ago, that the aggregates and awareness of these aggregates separating, starting to sort of come apart to the point where consciousness just leaves being there, and then the person then just dies. So I could see that was happening to a degree with my mother. Fortunately, she's now got some better pain medication, and her brain is starting to function better. So she's getting a bit more of a sense of herself. But part of the learning, part of the insight, part of the understanding of our human condition. And so that, like Ajahn Chah, who I was with for many years in Thailand, and when he was sick, he was giving this last profound teaching of being a very charismatic, profound, insightful, enlightened teacher. And his last teaching was, without even saying so, here I am, this body. Don't be attached to this body because this body is sick. It had a stroke. It had fluid on the brain. It wasn't functioning. And I and a number of monks were, over a number of years, were trained to nurse him 24/7. And so that to see that what we take to be so much of ourself is just a collection of elements and aggregates coming together that in time dissipate, dissolve, and disappear as well. So that a profound teaching that is there. And I know that for all of us, that these teachings are available to us when we see somebody that's old or that's sick, or that's dying or that has died. It's like, okay, well, let's make use of this. Let's learn from this. Let's awaken through this. Let's make this a blessing as well. So in the last few minutes, any thoughts or reflections from yourself around this appreciation of saṁvega, that shake up, wake up, awakening to the reality and the motivation towards spiritual practice.
I was just thinking that it would be really wonderful if we could all experience that, letting go of the old five aggregates. But from my understanding, a lot of people don't even have the awareness, and also they have dementia.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they don't get that opportunity.
Yes.
So
yes.
you would have to be rather blessed, wouldn't you, to be able to experience that a dying process.
Yeah. Well, I guess again, the blight and the blessing is that some people are in that situation with a life-threatening illness that they're aware that they are dying. And if they have enough awareness, and that awareness becomes their main refuge, where the body is just falling apart and needs to be let go of, so that they may have that potential of insight. We often think a wonderful death is just to go to sleep and die in your sleep. Okay, so that no real awareness at all, and maybe no pain, which would be wonderful. But there may not be that so much of an opportunity in that situation for profound insight.
So does that vinyaya, when you're dying, mean that you have something else after the death?
So that vijnana, consciousness,
Yeah.
so that that sense of the consciousness, that energetic frequency, from a Buddhist perspective, and even other traditions as well, is what then goes on to be reborn again. So this lifetime is a type of programming, the frequency, the quality, degree of attachment of that consciousness. It's changing, so it's not so much like a permanent entity that doesn't change. It's more of a frequency that can be modified through the way in which we live our life. And then that frequency, if there's still degrees of desire, wanting, ignorance there, then it goes into another rebirth.
Happen if someone is in a state of dementia?
Of course, it happens. It happens anyway. Yeah. So there's
But
various types of karma. There's death proximate karma, which is the quality or state of mind at the time of death. But there's also the karma that we have been living out through the course of our lifetime that would have conditioned our consciousness in a particular way as well. And so that the next life or rebirth is a result not just of the state of mind when the person dies, but what's been happening through the course of their life, which is a good thing, because sometimes people die in a quite a tragic way. Pardon?
Goenka did. He had Alzheimer's.
Right.
Yeah. You know, he was stage 5, and you might remember. And,
yeah.
You know.
And the Alzheimer's is more as to do with just the brain. It's a result of the brain, not.
So he was still conscious in there.
So there might have been like behind that his consciousness, but it wasn't manifesting in a way because the hardware, the software was okay, but the hardware. Yeah. In Buddhist monasteries, certainly in Theravada Buddhist monasteries, every day the monks and nuns chant the teachings that relate to the reality of I'm of the nature to age, I'm of the nature to sicken, I'm of the nature to die, I haven't not got beyond death, all that is mine, dear and delightful, will change and vanish. I'm the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, abide supported by my karma, whatever karma I shall do, for good or for ill, of that I will be the heir. So that as a daily reflection to set up the approach for engaging your activities in the day. So it's worth looking up the word saṁvega. There's a good article by Ajahn Thanissaro. He's an American Buddhist monk, a forest monk, that he's written about saṁvega and pasada, the importance of bringing peace and understanding to the saṁvega feeling so that it doesn't become just despair. So it becomes more of a wise motivation towards spiritual practice. Well, we might finish up for this evening. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for sharing your presence. And if anything significant happens to my mother, I'll let you know. But all being well, she gets better and is able to do some rehab and get back home. My partner Hannah's already bought her 90th birthday card. So we'll see. So thanks for coming and see you next time.